One of the problems that I had with it was that Carmelo Anthony in 2006, 2007, he had 5 game-winning shots for the Nuggets. Whether that happens again in his career, 5 is phenomenal. But last year, you saw Allen Iverson with the ball. He was that untraditional point guard who would just keep the ball. He would have it, and Carmelo Anthony, you saw the bad body language as he's running up the court knowing he's not going to get the ball. Now he has the opportunity late in games to really be the difference maker and to be the premier player potentially in the entire NBA.
Outside in Denver, Gavin Brown celebrating his birthday with his Edmonton Rush teammates back in town. Derek Malosky and Chris Levis look to slow Grout and the Rush here this evening. It's a raucous crowd from Pepsi Center. The 5-3 Edmonton Rush in town to take on the 2-6 Colorado Mammoth. The best ever start for the first half of the season for the Edmonton Rush franchise. The worst ever start for the first half for the Mammoth. And Peter, as you say, don't forget about the first half. Learn from it.
First half, you got to remember, they were 2-6, no doubt, the Mammoth. But there were a lot of close games. A lot of games that could have gone either way. When you look at the standings, 1 or 2 quick wins by the Mammoth, they're right back in the playoff hunt. Minnesota lost was a tough loss. The Edmonton lost the first game of the season. You learn from those mistakes, you move forward.
Minnesota playing at Philadelphia. That game should end in just minutes. We'll get you the final score when it is a final. The first time these two teams met this season, the home opener back on January 16th. And for Edmonton, they took home a 1-goal victory.
It was a close game. Brian Langtry with a hat trick, 3 goals. He sort of came on in the second half. Ilya Gaich came on, a lot of great goals. It was a close game, went right down to the wire. Ryan Ward for Edmonton had a great game. Gavin Prout, 7 assists. You've got to stop their big guns. Mammoth's big guns have to score tonight. Otherwise, you're going to have a repeat of last game.
One of those big guns that you talked about was Brian Langtry. He had no goals in 3 games until 2 weeks ago against Minnesota. 3 goals, 3 assists, including the 200th of his career. He got out of that shooting slump.
Oh, you get out of the shooting slump by shooting a lot. Brian Langtry, I call him a hustle superstar. He's not pretty, he's not gorgeous, he's just effective. As Brian Langtry goes, so do the Mammoth.
Taking a look at that performance against Minnesota, 6 points. Just one shy of what the Mammoth needed. Couldn't agree with Coach McMahon anymore as the ball comes flying through from the shoot on the goalie. A chance for Dan Perreault to have a training camp under his belt and players to learn from him. When we return here on the Slashback Season Preview Show, we'll take a look at the 2010 Colorado Mammoth roster. You see some of the faces right there. They're ones you're going to get to know and love. Back in a moment.
This episode of One-on-One, Josh Gross sits down to talk with Nick Carlson and Tom Ethington of the Colorado Mammoth about their road to resilience in Colorado lacrosse.
And welcome to One-on-One. I'm your host, Josh Gross, today joined by Nick Carlson, a transition player for the Colorado Mammoth, and defenseman Tom Ethington. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
Josh. Thanks for having us, Josh.
Nick, starting with you, grew up in Nanaimo, British Columbia, about 75 miles or so from Vancouver. What was it like growing up there? How big is lacrosse up in British Columbia?
Lacrosse, indoor lacrosse is big up in BC. Nanaimo, not so much. We had our youth program, and it was very big just south on Vancouver Island in Victoria. So once I got a little bit older, ended up playing junior down in Victoria. But overall, there are a lot of kids playing.
How'd you get involved in the sport?
My parents just hated baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And baseball and lacrosse ran at the same time of the year in the spring. And they just signed me up one day and I started running around.
What about you, Tom? You grew up Glenview, Illinois, about 15, 20 miles north of Chicago on Lake Michigan. What about your experience? How did you get into lacrosse?
I started playing, my first organized lacrosse game was actually my sophomore year. So I started playing, around 8th grade, just throwing the ball around to stay in shape for hockey, and enjoyed playing it so much. Joined my high school team, which was a club team, and just kind of picked it up from there.
Illinois, not known as a lacrosse powerhouse, the state, at least even as of yet now. How did you end up at University of Denver? You get to come be a pioneer here in Colorado. How did that happen? How'd you make that move 1,000 miles west?
I went on a couple of recruiting trips. Talked to some coaches where, a lot of it was on me to kind of put my name out there. Talk to people. I wasn't going on like the all-inclusive recruiting trips that you see a lot of guys going on now. You kind of figure out where you want to go to school first, and then also hopefully to have a good lacrosse team, and you kind of work that in there.
Nick, you end up going all the way to the East Coast to Limestone College. How did that happen, moving a few thousand miles across the country and to a new country in and of itself?
It was a total random phone call one day. I took my SATs up in Canada. I knew you had to do that to get down to school in the United States, and I just got a phone call one day, sort of halfway through my senior year of high school, and talked to them. I had no idea. I never went down on a recruiting trip anywhere. Filled out the paperwork, got an offer, told my parents that I'm going to give it a shot. I had no idea, no background on anything.
What was their reaction to you moving so far away?
Oh, they were okay with it. I mean, I love my parents, and I didn't necessarily want to be that far from them and the whole family, but it was a good move. It was a very different experience, put it that way.
I would say statistically a very good move. The 2002 Division II Attackman of the Year, the 2002 Player of the Year. How did that all come about? Three-time All-American, if I'm not mistaken. How did this all come about? How did your evolution out on the field game thrive so much at Limestone?
I'd say the coaches. We had Mike Serino was my first coach, and Mike Sessa and Chris Fennessy were my three coaches there, and they kind of built me into sort of what I am now, I guess, a little bit. Just hard work, and I just put my head down and ran and worked hard in school, and and I ended up fortunately here.
Paid off certainly for the both of you. Tom, University of Denver, a program that was really up and coming when you were there, and now Peter Barton Stadium, their own venue. What did you see? What kind of growth did you see within the program when you were there from 1998 to 2002?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of the school was going through a lot of changes and stuff like that. My first year at the University of Denver was Jamie Monroe's first year, so we were shoveling parking lots in order to go to practice, and now they've got a beautiful stadium that they play in whenever they want. So the University of Denver's gone through quite a few changes, but the program continues to build, and they got something special going on there.
You're one of numerous University of Denver alumni to play for the Colorado Mammoth over the last few years. What's it been like to see the transition of guys that you played with or you cheered for after you graduated now getting a chance to play with you in the pro ranks?
It's always great to play with your friends. That's why we play the game, is because it's a sport we love and we're around people that we care about. So to see those guys come up through Denver, the same way I did, and have the ability to play for Colorado and a team, the place that they went to college is nice.
We talked before the show about how timing is everything. Of course, you graduate, Colorado is awarded a team to play here at Pepsi Center. How nice did that feel to know that, oh my goodness, now there's something in the backyard of where I've been going to school?
Yeah, it was great. I got a call from Mr. Govett, letting me know that they were going to move the team here. I didn't know when the draft was. I'd thought about it, but I knew I wanted to stay in Denver and didn't want to travel that much, and so them moving the team here kind of worked out, and took a chance on it and went all the way through their training camps and stuff like that, and was able to stick around.
You're two of the more veteran players now with the Colorado Mammoth. When we return, we'll talk about the entry draft and your career here in the National Lacrosse League. You're watching One on One with Nick Carlson and Tom Ethington.